Yes, so today we will look upon data sufficiency. All right, so now you're able to view the screen, right? Whiteboard.
It's loading, sir.
Okay.
Now we
So
can
one
see.
small request.
Yes.
Sir, can you teach us the concepts that are inclined to CAT and as well as the TCS, which is gonna happen day after tomorrow?
All right. So AU403, can you write your name beside your what is that USN? Okay. Now, so today's topic, it will be data sufficiency. Okay. So any idea about data sufficiency? I hope you people would have solved it, right? So data sufficiency, now this will be a mixture of all the topics. It can be from logical, it can be from verbal, it can be from quantitative aptitude. It is a mixture. Okay, so now in data sufficiency, as the name says, okay, now you are provided with a question, and for that question some data will be given to find the answer for that. Okay, so now you may have to find the you may have to tell whether the given data is sufficient to answer the given questions or not. Like for example, now just look at this. Okay, so in data sufficiency, all right. So the statement will be given like this. Okay, the conditions are like this. Now there are 5 options which are A, B, C, D, and E. Okay. Now there are 5 options. Now you may have to choose option A when you are sure that the particular question can be answered using the first statement alone. Okay. Now for example, let me take this one. Just a second. This is take part 2. Now the question is, if x is an integer, now that is the condition, then what is the value of x? That is the question. Now these are the 2 given statements. Okay, so now from this given statement we have to find the answer for the question asked, which means the value for x must be found out. Okay, now you will pick option A if you are sure that if the question can be answered by the using the statement one alone. In this case, if x is an integer, then what is the value of x? If you are able to answer the question with the first statement alone, okay, without the help of the statement 2, which means x square equal to 16, with that alone, if you are able to answer this particular question, which is what is the value of x, then you will mark option A. Similarly, option B you will mark when x is greater than 0 is the only condition which can be used, and you will be able to find the solution for the question what is the value of x, then you will mark option B. Now option C you will mark when there are some cases where statement 1 alone also gives you the answer, 2 alone also gives the answer without the support of each other statement. Okay, I need not support of statement 2 to answer the question, which means I can answer the question by 1 alone, or 2 alone I can answer. That condition also sometimes occur. Now at that case, you will mark option C. Sometimes we may have to combine these two statements and then we may have to find the answer. So in such case, you will mark option D. Now option E you will mark when neither of the given statement helps us to find the solution. So this particular clarity we must have. Okay, the reason is most of the students, they mistake in this particular topic for a simple reason. They don't understand the answer option choices. Okay, so they don't know. Like when when they find the answer by first statement alone, they will mark option A and then move on to the next one. They will not have a habit of checking with option 2 and then moving on to the next one. So that is very, very important here. We must be a little bit careful. Okay. So now let me solve some questions for you so that you get used to this, and then I will give you questions so that we can practice together. Okay. Now this particular question is, if x is an integer, then what is the value of x? So from statement 1, I can say x is equal to plus r minus 4. Because x square is equal to 16, x can be plus 4 or x can be minus 2. It can be plus 4 or minus 4. Okay, in the question the condition is that it is just an integer. Okay, it is not given whether it is a positive integer or a negative integer. So statement 1 alone is insufficient because we have to answer. It can be, we don't know whether it is plus 4 or minus 4. Now, statement 2 alone, x is greater than 0, meaning x can take any values or not. X can take any values. It can take from 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. Any values it can take. Any value it can take. So, statement 2 alone is also insufficient. With statement 2 alone, I cannot answer. Now, when I combine these two, okay, now when I combine these two, I can definitely say x is equal to 4. I can definitely say x is equal to 4 because x is greater than 0 and x is an integer which is given in the question, and x can take plus value. Okay, so it means x can take plus value, so the value is 4. Are we clear with this? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
Yes,
now
sir.
let me go to the next simple question. Yes, so this is the condition. This the screen is visible, right?
Sir, visible, sir.
Yes. So is the number x divisible by 4? So these are the given two options, two statements. Which option will you pick? Now, what is the divisibility rule for 4? Divisibility rule for 4 is that the last two digit or the tens, just a second guys. Okay, so is the number x divisible by 4? Now, divisibility rule for 4 is last two digits must be divisible by 4, or units and tens digit together must be divisible by 4. Now, with statement 1, I can definitely say x is divisible by 4. So 1 alone is sufficient. Statement 1 alone is sufficient. So I must not stop here. I must also check for the second statement. X is divisible by 8. Any multiple of 8 will be divisible by 4 also. Correct. So 2 alone is also sufficient. Correct. So in which case I will choose option C, which is this question can be answered with either of the statement alone. Either of the statements alone. This question can be answered with either of the statements alone. So now got the clarity? Yes. So shall I give some question and you will try it out?
28 is divisible by 4, sir.
Sorry?
How ABCD 28 is divisible by 4?
What is the divisibility rule for 4? The last two digit must be divisible by 4 or not?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Got it, sir.
Yes. Got it. Now, shall we move on to the next?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Solve this. This is x plus y the whole square.
Is it neither of them are true?
See, it's not about true or false. Okay, now you just have to tell.
Yes, sir. That's what I understood. I mean, like
both are sufficient.
You need both the statement to answer the question. Is that what you mean?
No, sir.
Okay.
What I meant was both.
Sir, for me, both are insufficient, sir.
Insufficient. That's what I meant.
Oh, even by combining both the statement it is insufficient.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Only one statement is sufficient, I feel. So.
Confusion. Okay, so now
basically in this data sufficiency there will be 5 options, sir, or there are only 4.
5 will also be given, 4 will also be given. Both are possible. Sometimes, both are possible. Sometimes they may exclude this particular option, which is like the given question can be answered with either of the statements. So that can be excluded, but mostly it will be 5 or 4 options. Now, yes. So now, what is the divisibility rule for 3? Sum of the digits of the number. I'm just giving a revision. Must be divisible by 3. Okay, so now this x plus y the whole square can be expanded as x square plus 2xy plus y square. Correct? Now, when this particular thing, which is x square plus 2xy plus y square. Now here, let us go by the first statement. Now by the first statement, x is divisible by 3. Okay, x is divisible by 3, which means x square will be divisible by 3, 2xy will be divisible by 3, but we are not sure of the y square. Now, what is the basic remainder theorem? Basic remainder theorem. It says the end remainder is, here the operator used is plus sum of the individual remainder. So here x square the remainder will be 0, 2xy the remainder will be 0, but we don't know what remainder we will get for y square. So first statement alone is insufficient. Now let's take second one. In second one, what happens? Again, 2xy and y square will be divisible because y is divisible. So for 2xy, the remainder will be 0. Y square, the remainder will be 0. For x square, we don't know what is the remainder is. So 2 alone is insufficient. Now, let me combine both the statement. X is also divisible by 3. Y is also divisible by 3. Correct? Meaning, x square will also be divisible, 2xy will also be divisible, y square will also be divisible. Yes. So if all the three are divisible, then x plus y the whole square is also divisible. So we need both the statement to answer the question. We need both the statements to answer the question. We need both the statements to answer. Are we clear with this or not? Are we clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So now let's move on to the next. Yes. Solve this. Either one is sufficient, Naveen.
Yes.
How are you saying?
Sir, in C++ program also I will use same rule, sir.
Okay.
Oh, it should be divisible by 4 or it should be a century year.
No. If you remember properly, for
Sir, I think option one alone is sufficient.
option 1 alone is sufficient. Okay. Now, is 1900, is it a leap year? Or let me take this year. Now, present we are in the 21st century. So 2100. Is it a leap year? Is it a leap year or not?
I think it's a leap year, sir.
It is a non-leap year. It's a non-leap year. The reason is, for the condition for a year to be a leap year, there are two cases. One is non-century years. Non-century years like 2020, 2018, 2005, 2098, 8089. So, which are non-multiples of 100. Non-century years or non-multiples of 100. So, for these type of years, it is to be divisible by 4. Okay, if a non-century year is divisible by 4, then it's a leap year. Then it is a leap year. Second, which is a century year, which are multiples of 100, like 1900, 200, 2000, 2400, 2300, 1800, so on. These are multiples of 100, a century year. For this, it has to be divisible by 4. 400. Divisible by 400. This is the condition. Now, in the C program also which you write, you first decide whether the given year is century year or a non-century year. Now the next condition is, if it is a non-century year, you will check for the divisibility of 4. If it is a century year, you will check the divisibility of 400. Okay, so according to the given condition, y is divisible by 4. Any century year will be divisible by 4 because all are multiples of 100 and 100 is a multiple of 4. So any century year will be divisible by 400, but not all century years are leap years. Only 2000, 2400 in the given example, only 2000 and 2400 are leap years. The other years, 1900, 2100, 2300, 1800, these are non-leap years. So from the first statement alone, I cannot conclude anything. Now the second statement alone, y is a century year. Not all century years are leap years. Not all century years are leap years. So both the data are insufficient to answer the question. Both the data are insufficient to answer the question. In case if y is 1900, it is divisible by 4 and it is a century year also, but that is not a leap year. Whereas 2000 if I take, it is divisible by 4 and it is a century year, but it is a leap year. So for different values of y, I get different answers. So both statements together also it's insufficient. Together also is insufficient. Are we clear?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Yes. So now let's move on to the next.
Yes, sir.
This is a little tricky one. Give a try.
Sir.
Data is insufficient. No, we can.
Sir, I think statement 2 is sufficient, sir.
How can you justify?
Sir, since x is an integer and plus 1 is just an increment by 1.
Okay.
No, sir, even I made a wrong assumption.
Okay.